Welcome to the deep dive. We're always looking at those hidden forces, the things shaping our world behind the scenes. And today, well, we're diving into something that's really all around us, electromagnetic fields, EMFs. And, all the wireless tech that's just everywhere now. It definitely raises questions, right, about health, the environment. But here's the twist we're exploring. There might be this surprisingly ancient solution, a mineral. Some say it's actually changing the game.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we are zoning in on Shungite. It's this really remarkable mineral, and its properties, well, they sort of challenge our usual scientific thinking. We're going to explore what makes it unique, look at the, let's call it the energetic framework that might explain how it works, and really unpack its potential for protecting, restoring everything from, personal well-being right up to whole ecosystems. Our mission really is to unpack the power attributed to this mineral and why it feels so relevant right now, especially, with 5G rolling out.
Yeah, get ready for some pretty compelling stories, some observations that honestly might just make you rethink how energy works around you. Some real aha moments, I think. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The journey into Shungite, it seems, often starts with a kind of personal wake-up call about all this unseen energy. Our guest today, well, your background is fascinating. Former U.S. Army intelligence, trained in electronic warfare. So you understood EMF, Wi-Fi frequencies as like core tools in conflict. But then you realized the same kind of electronic pressure was maybe happening to civilians, like a silent enemy.
It was very personal, yes. Extremely painful, actually. My brother, he passed away from a brain tumor. And his work involved decades of exposure to radar frequencies. I tried to warn him, others had warned him over the years, but it just felt like nobody was really listening,
Yeah.
That feeling of being unheard when the danger seemed so clear, it was intense. It really brought home the urgency for me.
Wow, that's a heavy catalyst. And it was out of that grief, that frustration, you mentioned this, kind of desperate ask to Gaia, a plea for some kind of answer. And then almost out of nowhere, you stumbled upon information about Shungite from Russia, right? Used specifically to block EMFs, even in military settings.
The validation was almost, well, instantaneous. A friend who actually deals in minerals was visiting. She had her Wi-Fi system with her, which I didn't usually have in my house, and I could feel it immediately, the energy. I told her I wasn't comfortable, and she had just gotten this Shungite ring, and she took it off and put it right on the Wi-Fi antenna. The shift, the energy change in the room,
Yeah.
it was palpable. Just like that, a really profound first hit.
That's incredible. Just an immediate, tangible difference. And it wasn't just that one instance, right? You quickly got a Shungite pendant yourself.
Right.
And you put it on your dog, Josie, who you said was basically, 48 hours from dying. And the outcome was, well, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, she lived another 6 months. And, in good health for that time. It was striking.
Yeah.
It really suggested that even just a little bit of this stuff could potentially make a significant difference.
6 more months in good health. That really speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It felt like a very clear sign. And, beyond just personal anecdotes, it's worth mentioning that Shungite's properties have been looked at for bigger things, too, like dealing with nuclear isotopes. There are reports, for instance, about it being used in cleanup efforts, like after Fukushima. That points to some really broad, unique capabilities.
Yeah.
When we start talking about Shungite, we're really stepping into a slightly different way of looking at science. I tend to think in terms of, well, I call it enerology, the study of energy itself. Because the universe, fundamentally, it is energy. And for me, quantum physics actually provides a better framework than, say, just chemistry for understanding what Shungite appears to do. It doesn't just absorb or block energy like, lead blocks X-rays. It seems to attenuate it. It changes it.
It attenuates. Okay, so less like a shield and more like a joule, like a transformer. Or maybe like a tuning fork, changing the vibration. And this idea, this attenuation, you found this came from Russian studies originally, which were apparently quite hard to get hold of and translate.
Exactly. That's the term they use. And what's fascinating is just how unique Shungite is, geologically, I mean. It's only found in this one place, Karelia, in Russia, just east of Finland. And there's this strong belief, even speculation, that it might be extraterrestrial in origin. The local water purity there is supposedly legendary. People say you can drink straight from Lake Onega, the second largest lake in Europe, apparently because of the Shungite in the lake bed. But the real key, the thing that gets scientists excited, is the fullerene molecule within its carbon structure, C60. It looks like a tiny soccer ball. And that geometry, that perfect shape. Proponents of enerology believe that when energy flows through it, it creates these 0 points, these tiny spots that, well, they seem to open up a connection to the quantum field, which you could think of as this sort of photo energy of everything, past, present, future. And get this, the speed it rotates, scientists have confirmed it spins at something like 20 billion times a second. It's the fastest rotating molecule they've identified.
20 billion times a second? Okay,
Yeah.
that's mind-boggling. So what does all that mean for us then? How does this super fast spinning, this quantum field connection actually interact with, say, the harmful frequencies from our devices?
Well, the theory, or the energetic understanding, is that harmful EMFs, like from Wi-Fi, they carry this energetic spin, often described as counterclockwise. And this is thought to be detrimental, contributing to, deterioration in the body. But when these frequencies hit the field generated by shungite, with its incredibly fast rotation, they're forced to essentially counter-rotate, to flip their spin to clockwise. And this apparently happens in about 4 seconds. Now that's significant because clockwise rotation is considered to align with the body's natural cellular energy flow. It helps the cells rotate correctly, maybe even faster, which helps them throw off toxins. It's a similar idea with water purification. Toxic molecules, contaminants, they have their own discordant energy signature, right? When they encounter the shungite field, they seem to lose their energetic cohesion. They basically fall apart into their base atoms. So the water becomes purer, but the shungite itself doesn't get gunked up. You don't need to replace it or recharge it because it's constantly interacting with that quantum field.
Right,
Yeah.
self-sustaining in a way. So given all that, how are people actually using this? What are the practical applications? You mentioned products.
Yes, definitely. We've worked on developing several ways to use it. The S4 stickers are probably the most common starting point for many people. They've evolved quite a bit. We started with just raw powder on tape, basically. But then we discovered that saturating the powder with colloidal silver, it just amplified the effect dramatically. It's like the silver somehow holds the door open to that quantum field, allowing this continuous transformation, especially for the complex signals from Wi-Fi. And the feedback is pretty immediate. People say their phones stop getting hot. We've even had reports of phones that weren't working properly starting to function again. And just a general feeling of a sort of healing energy field around the device. You can put them on basically any Wi-Fi device, laptops, tablets, routers, but also things you might not think of, like appliances with secondary motors, hair dryers, washing machines, ovens. They put out fields too. And we actually filed a provisional patent on the silver saturation process, not to lock it down, but the opposite, to put it in the public domain, to make sure nobody could try and shut down access to making it this way. Oh, and a neat little thing, schools or sports teams can get stickers with their own logos. Makes it more appealing for kids. Sometimes they don't want that weird sticker on their phone, but if it's their team logo, it's a way to kind of trick them into using protection.
That's clever. So stickers are one way. What about wearing it? Pendants?
And pendants, yes.
Yeah.
I make wrapped nuggets, which I see as more active energy devices for, like 3D balancing of your personal field. There are also S4 resin pendants, which use the same silver-saturated powder. But honestly, if you always have your phone on you, the sticker on the phone itself creates a significant field around you. Then there are the nuggets, just the raw stones. We always recommend using 3 together. That seems to create a more coherent field. You can take 3 nuggets right onto your router or even electrical cables. It seems to influence the whole electrical system in the house. For water, same idea. Tape 3 nuggets to the main cold water pipe coming into your house. People report the water gets softer, tastes better, less chlorine smell. The whole system gets energized. And this one always gets a reaction. Put 3 nuggets in your toilet tank. Seriously. It helps eliminate that brown, gunky buildup. You just don't need to scrub it nearly as often. And for pets, 3 nuggets in their water bowl. It stops that slimy biofilm from forming.
Okay, the toilet tank one is definitely unexpected. But the pet water bowl, that's a common frustration. That makes sense.
It really works. And then there are the magnets. These are quite a bit more powerful. They create a different kind of field geometry. The refrigerator magnet, for instance. It sets up this toroidal field like a donut shape of energy inside the fridge. We've actually measured this. It leads to about 33% energy savings on the fridge. Plus, people consistently say their food lasts longer, tastes better, like it's being detoxified. It's similar energetically to the field inside a pyramid, apparently. We also wonder if the car creates a protective field in the vehicle. Some people report better fuel efficiency, smoother running. So for someone wanting to protect their whole house, we usually suggest an environmental kit. That'll typically have nuggets, a magnet, some S4 stickers, and a smart sticker. The smart sticker. Well, it was originally for smart meters, but an interesting thing happened. In some places where people used them, the smart meters started disappearing because the power companies noticed the drop in reported usage. So now, we mainly recommend it for the main fuse box. It uses a very specific combination of powders in a geometric shape. It helps protect the entire electrical input for the home.
So it really sounds like this isn't just about sort of abstract protection. It's an investment that can have tangible benefits like energy savings, longer lasting food, very practical stuff. And if we connect this to the really big picture, it's kind of astonishing how far the reported influence reaches. You mentioned effects on the planet itself, specifically with bees.
Ah, yes. This, for me, is honestly the best story yet. The Bee Project. It started with a beekeeper up in Washington State, Derek Hahn. He heard about what we were doing, and just on his own initiative, he took 3 Shungite nuggets and put them on top of 2 of his hives. These were Russian bees, by the way. And what happened next was just, well, miraculous. Sounds about right. The bees literally started walking across the Shungite, going in and out of the hive. They wore the nuggets down over time. And within just 11 weeks, Derek reported, those 2 hives had absolutely no disease, no mites, no losses, none. And they exploded in population. From about 50,000 bees initially, they grew to over 1 million bees across 8 hives eventually. They even started incorporating the Shungite powder into the nectar and pollen they collected. We ended up calling it Shungite honey. There was so much honey they had to keep harvesting constantly. And maybe the most incredible part, Derek put at least 20 bees that looked dead into a jar, placed it on a table near some Shungite, and he reported they all came back to life. So my advice now is, if you see a bee struggling on the ground, take off your pendant if you wear one, and just put it nearby. See what happens. We also experimented with paint, mixing Shungite powder into the paint for the outside of the hives. During an unprecedented snowstorm in Washington, those painted hives were the only ones that survived. All the other standard hives in the area died. And bees in the painted hives also ate way less honey over the winter.
That is just staggering. The survival through the storm. And speaking of bees, you often bring up mason bees. These solitary ones, not honeybees.
Yes. Mason bees, they don't sting, they're solitary, and they are vastly more effective pollinators, like at least 100% more powerful than honeybees.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about them much, do you? The commercial honeybee industry, well, let's just say, it seems they prefer to keep that information quiet.
Interesting. And all this becomes even more critical when you hear about the wider insect decline, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical. There was a major scientific project, you can look it up, showing something like 70% of the insect population is just gone. That's heading towards a biological catastrophe for the whole food chain. Everything depends on insects. But Shungite's reported impact, thankfully, isn't limited to bees.
Right, because the human health stories are just as compelling, aren't they? The sheer number of personal accounts of turnarounds.
Oh, the testimonies we get are amazing. There was a woman with a severe brain injury problems with vision, walking the whole bit. She reported drastic improvements in just 30 days using Shungite. Another woman, chronically ill, had been house-sitting for 3 years, seeing 5 different doctors. After 3 months living in a Shungite-protected environment, she apparently fired all 5 doctors and was running 3 miles a day. We've seen some fascinating blood analysis, too. One woman's blood, under the microscope, showed cells rotating counterclockwise, sort of clumped, when her phone without Shungite was nearby. Looked diseased, frankly. Put an S4 sticker on the phone, looked again. The blood picture totally changed. Cells rotating clockwise looked clean, vibrant. The analyst even remarked on seeing what looked like stem cells, and she was 42. Thermography is interesting, too. Picture showing heat buildup in the head after just a 2-minute phone call without a sticker. With a sticker, the heat that did show up was localized right where there was metal, like fillings in teeth or inner ear components. Suggests the energy interaction is different. We even saw it with athletes. A track team did muscle testing holding cell phones without stickers, made them test weak. Used the stickers for a week, came back, and they were beating their own personal records. Kids, using them in classrooms with lots of computers, reported feeling like a super person, like they had a force field. No more headaches, no more feeling sick to their stomach after hours on the computer.
It's just such a wide range of reported benefits, from brain injury to athletic performance to just feeling better around technology.
Exactly. The underlying idea seems to be that Shungite helps to energetically balance you out. It lets your body's own natural healing processes kick in while protecting you from that constant electromagnetic assault. It just seems to benefit pretty much everything that's a living creature.
Yeah.
And that definitely includes plants.
Right, you touched on that earlier. Shungite water helping plants, and those Russian studies showing huge yield increases in potatoes with Shungite powder in the soil, like 80%.
Yeah, significant results reported there. Which unfortunately brings us back to the elephant in the room, 5G. It is so important people understand this is not just the 4th generation of Wi-Fi sped up. It's fundamentally different, a brand new technology. Some reports trace its development directly back to the Army as a weapon system using millimeter waves. The planned infrastructure is intense. Towers supposedly every 800 feet. And you see laws popping up, like that one in Florida, allowing companies to put towers on private property without the owner's consent. That signals a real push for control. And the capabilities being discussed are, well, deeply concerning. Things like getting inside your mind, influencing thoughts or emotions. Or worse, smart meters are part of this grid. They ping the network constantly, every 12 minutes or so. They're not just reading your power usage. They can tell what appliances are running, potentially who's in the room, maybe even inferring if they're sick, depressed, or healthy based on energy signatures. The health comparison often made is to a microwave oven that essentially cooks by taking moisture out. I had a friend. Her health just tanked after getting a new smart car. Her doctor eventually told her, flat out, sell the car, it's killing you. She did, and her health came back.
Okay, so that paints a pretty stark picture. And it leads to the big question listeners probably have. What can we do? How can we possibly stop something like 5G? Or at least, how do we protect ourselves while we figure out how to deal with it?
Right. So Shungite, as we've discussed, it can change the structure of that electromagnetic wave. But here's the key thing. It doesn't stop the device from working. Your phone still makes calls. Your Wi-Fi still connects. So Shungite protects you, the individual, from the harmful energetic effects, but it doesn't disable the technology itself.
Okay, so personal protection is one layer, but what about pushing back against the rollout itself? Is there a more practical way beyond just individual shielding?
Absolutely. And Hawaii gave us a great example. Citizens there successfully stopped smart meters from being installed. How they organized, they drew up legal papers. They basically put politicians on notice, threatening to sue them personally for dereliction of duty if their families got sick from this technology they were allowing. The strategy is go after the politicians, because often they're protecting corporate interests, but they aren't necessarily protecting themselves or their own families from these same frequencies. It's a legal avenue, a way forward that's, beyond taking a baseball bat, as someone put it.
Right, using the system itself. And maybe this connects back to Shungite in a way. You mentioned people feeling clearer, healthier.
Exactly. That's the crucial link for individual action. What does this mean for you? By using something like Shungite, people report they start feeling their brain clear up. They feel healthier, stronger. And that gives you the energy, the mental clarity, the ability for your brain to work again so you can actually research, organize, and take meaningful action on these bigger issues. You need to be well to fight back effectively. And make no mistake, this feels like the line in the sand. 5G. If people let this come online fully without safeguards, it's potentially kiss yourself goodbye in terms of personal autonomy and health. You might not have much control left. The independent science strongly suggests these things are dangerous. The key is getting enough people to wake up and understand the real risks involved here.
Wow. We've covered so much ground today. It's been a really profound journey into Shungite, hasn't it? From its almost cosmic origins and quantum properties right down to these tangible impacts, health, technology, bees, the environment. It really does seem like for many people, it is literally changing the situation.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you define magic simply as the manipulation of energy, and if science, especially quantum physics, tells us that fundamentally everything is energy, then maybe understanding this enerology is the key. Maybe it unlocks solutions for things modern science is still scratching its head about. And if that's the case, what's our responsibility? To act on this knowledge, maybe for the survival of our species.
Definitely some deep thoughts to mull over. And for everyone listening who wants to dive deeper, where can they go?
Well, my main website is cosmicreality.net. Lots of info there. We also have the Cosmic Reality Shungite channel on YouTube. You can actually see videos showing how to test real Shungite with a flashlight. It's quite simple, and more details on the bee experiments. There's also a great community on Facebook, the Shungite Store Group. It's global, people sharing experiences, asking questions. And specifically for the bee stuff, there's shunhoney.com and shungbeehives.com.
Excellent. Lots of resources there. So we really encourage you, our listeners, to explore this. Maybe do your own experiments, see how it feels for you, and most importantly, share this information. Talk about it with your communities, your friends, especially parents thinking about their kids and all the tech exposure today. Spread the word.